Long Island medium Theresa Caputo is currently hospitalized. She has developed liver complications due to excessive drinking. Doctors have told her to strictly abstain from alcohol and advise her to take a long rest. Meanwhile, despite Theresa's serious physical condition, her ex-husband Larry Caputo publicly mocked and joked about it. Theresa's family was very angry at his behavior and said bluntly that such comments were completely unexpected and inappropriate. The bright lights of television fame had long since dimmed for Theresa Caputo, the once celebrated Long Island medium. Years after her hit show wrapped, Theresa continued to do private readings and public appearances, but the pressure of fame and the emotional toll of channeling grief had left her frayed and hollow. Behind her signature big hair and manicured nails was a woman slowly unraveling. It had started subtly, a glass of wine after difficult sessions, then two. Eventually, the comforting clink of a bottle opening became part of her daily ritual. Just to unwind, she'd say, brushing off her family's concerns. But the years of strain, both emotional and physical, had taken their toll. In early June, Theresa collapsed in her Long Island home. Her daughter, Victoria, found her unconscious and immediately called 911. The diagnosis was grim: advanced liver complications brought on by prolonged alcohol abuse. She was rushed to North Shore University Hospital, where doctors placed her under intensive care. "She needs complete rest and absolute abstinence from alcohol," said Dr. Rachel Lehrman, the lead physician managing her case. "She's in a fragile state." The news sent shockwaves through Theresa's fanbase, many of whom had followed her for over a decade. Thousands sent prayers, flowers, and well wishes to the hospital. But not everyone was sympathetic. Enter Larry Caputo. Theresa's ex-husband, Larry, had always been a controversial figure during and after the show's run. Their divorce had played out publicly, quietly at first, then more bitterly, with rumors of infidelity and deep-rooted resentment on both sides. Still, fans were shocked when Larry, now living in California and running a small vineyard, made light of Theresa's condition during an interview on a local podcast. "Maybe now she'll talk to a spirit who tells her to lay off the booze," he said with a chuckle. "Karma's got a weird sense of humor, huh?" The backlash was immediate. Theresa's family, always fiercely protective of her, issued a scathing public statement. "We are appalled by Larry Caputo's callous and insensitive comments regarding Theresa's health. No matter the history between them, joking about someone's life-threatening condition is unacceptable and shameful. We ask the public to pray for Theresa's recovery and to ignore those who seek attention at the cost of compassion." Victoria took to Instagram with a more personal message. Posting an old photo of her and her mother smiling at a beach, she wrote, "My mom is a warrior. She's helped thousands through their darkest moments, and now she's fighting her own battle. Please send her strength, not spite. And for those laughing, one day you'll understand the value of kindness." Theresa, unconscious for the first 48 hours of her hospitalization, awoke to a silent room filled with flowers, cards, and a single candle. Her sister, Christine, was by her side. "You've got more people praying for you than you can imagine," Christine whispered, holding her hand. With time, the swelling in Theresa's liver began to reduce. She was placed on a strict rehabilitation plan. The road ahead was long and uncertain, but for the first time in years, Theresa was ready to focus inward, to speak to her own spirit. She refused all interview requests, opting for privacy. "Right now, I need to heal," she said through a family spokesperson. "Not just physically, but spiritually." In an unexpected twist, fans started an online support campaign called Heal Theresa, which trended for days. Former clients posted heartfelt stories of how Theresa had helped them reconnect with lost loved ones, each post a testament to the real impact of her work beyond the cameras. As for Larry, he issued a half-hearted apology a week later, claiming he was just trying to bring levity to a dark situation. The damage, however, had been done. Even his loyal followers criticized him, and his vineyard's reviews took a noticeable dip. Back in Long Island, Theresa walked slowly through her backyard garden one early morning, weeks into her recovery. She paused near the old oak tree she and Larry had planted when their son was born. For a moment, she closed her eyes and whispered, "Thank you, Spirit. I'm not done yet." The wind stirred the leaves, and in that quiet rustle, she felt a familiar presence, not of a ghost or a voice from beyond, but of something far more personal, a second chance. However, the golden sunlight spilled across the quiet town of Huntington, Long Island, on a crisp fall morning. The leaves were turning a brilliant amber, and the air smelled like change, the kind that stirs emotions buried deep in the soul. Claire Thompson, a 27-year-old teacher, was getting married in 5 days. Her fiancé, Daniel, was kind and patient, the kind of man her late father had always hoped she'd find. But as the wedding day approached, a heavy sadness settled over Claire. Her father, James Thompson, had passed away 3 years earlier after a sudden heart attack. He wouldn't be there to walk her down the aisle, to give her away, or to whisper one last, "I love you," before she stepped into a new life. It was her mother, Ellen, who gently suggested reaching out to Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. "I know you don't really believe in this sort of thing, sweetheart," Ellen had said, holding her daughter's hand, "but I've seen her bring peace to so many people. Maybe you'll feel closer to Dad." Reluctantly, Claire agreed. Theresa Caputo's home was cozy and bright, filled with flickering candles, photos of loved ones, and an energy that was both calming and electric. Dressed in her signature high heels and perfectly styled blonde hair, Theresa welcomed Claire with warmth and ease. They sat across from each other in the softly lit living room. Claire fidgeted with the edge of her sleeve, unsure of what to expect. "I don't know anything about you," Theresa began, "but as soon as you walked in, I felt a father energy, very strong, very protective, but emotional. He's been waiting to talk to you." Claire's breath caught. She hadn't said a word about her dad yet. "He says he died suddenly. He's showing me you got a phone call. It was around evening time. You didn't get to say goodbye." Claire nodded, her eyes welling up with tears. "He keeps saying, 'my girl, my girl.' That was his nickname for you, wasn't it?" "Yes," Claire whispered. "He always called me that." Theresa's eyes softened. "He says he knows about your wedding. He says he sees the dress. He says you picked the one with the lace back because it reminded you of something he once bought your mom." Claire gasped. "My mom's wedding dress. He picked it out for her. Mine has the same lace pattern. He wants you to know he'll be there. He's not missing it. He'll be walking beside you, even if no one else can see him." Suddenly, Theresa paused, as if listening to someone just over her shoulder. "He's showing me a blue handkerchief. Do you know what that is?" Claire blinked in shock. "I found a blue handkerchief in his drawer last week. I'm wrapping it around my bouquet." Theresa smiled. "He says it's perfect. He wants you to carry something of his down the aisle, and now you are. He's saying, 'That's my girl. That's my bride.'" Claire broke down, sobbing quietly as Theresa reached across the table to hold her hand. "He wants you to dance the father-daughter dance. He says, 'Don't skip it for me. I'll be right there.'" The day arrived, warm for October, with golden sun streaming through the windows of the chapel. Claire walked down the aisle holding her bouquet, the blue handkerchief wrapped tightly beneath the stems. She felt a warmth at her side, not physical, but unmistakable, as if someone were walking beside her, step for step. Later, at the reception, when it was time for the father-daughter dance, Claire took the floor alone. The music began. "What a Wonderful World," her dad's favorite. And as she moved gently with invisible arms around her, a breeze swept through the room, flickering the candles. For a moment, the world held its breath. She smiled through her tears, because she knew he was there. Months later, Claire wrote Theresa a letter. "Dear Theresa, thank you for giving me the gift I didn't know I needed, one last moment with my dad. My wedding wasn't marked by absence. It was filled with his presence, in every detail. I will never forget what you did for me. You gave me peace. You gave me love. You gave me Dad. With all my heart, Claire." However, it was a gray afternoon in Long Island, the kind where the sky seems to hang low with unspoken grief. 27-year-old Emily Russo stepped hesitantly into the softly lit waiting room of a small but warm office in Hicksville. Her fingers trembled as she clutched a faded photograph of her mother, Carmela, who had passed away 2 years earlier in a tragic car accident. Emily had always been skeptical of the spirit world. Raised in a traditional Italian-American household, she believed in God, family, and hard work, but not in mediums, crystals, or tarot cards. But grief has a way of softening the sharp edges of logic. For 2 years, Emily had lived with the unbearable weight of her mother's sudden departure. There were no last words, no final goodbye, no closure. Her cousin Gina, who had visited a renowned local medium named Theresa Caputo, insisted that the experience had changed her life. She knew things nobody else could know, Gina had said with tearful eyes. She said my Nana was with me at the bakery near the biscotti. You remember how Nana loved biscotti. It sounded ridiculous. But here Emily was. The door opened, and in walked a petite woman with big blonde hair, manicured nails, and a warm but commanding presence. Hi, sweetheart, I'm Theresa. You ready to connect with spirit? She said, smiling gently. Emily managed a shaky nod. They sat down, and Theresa closed her eyes for a few seconds. Then, suddenly, her posture shifted. Okay, this is strange. I feel like I can't breathe. Someone's showing me an impact, like a crash. Do you understand that? Emily's heart raced. Her mother had died in a head-on collision caused by a drunk driver. Yes, she whispered. Theresa nodded. There's a woman here. She's very loud, very loving. She's waving a wooden spoon at me and saying, "Tell my daughter to stop blaming herself." Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. Carmela always used to joke that her spoon had magic, discipline in one hand, love in the other. She says you didn't answer the phone that night, and you've been carrying that guilt, Theresa continued. But honey, she says she tried to call just to say she loved you. Nothing more. She's at peace. Emily gasped. That missed call haunted her every night. It had come at 11:52 p.m., just 10 minutes before the accident. She had been asleep. When she saw it in the morning, it was too late. She's showing me a bracelet. Something blue? With charms? Emily sobbed now. Her mother had given her a charm bracelet on her 21st birthday. A delicate silver band with tiny hearts and angels. She hadn't worn it since the funeral. She says, "Wear it again. I'll be with you every time you do." The room fell silent. All Emily could hear was her heartbeat, and the invisible threads of a connection she thought she had lost forever. Theresa looked at her with kind eyes. Your mom's soul is still very much alive. She's with you when you cook pasta, when you talk to your plants, when you cry in the car. You don't need to see her to feel her. You just need to believe. For the first time in 2 years, Emily felt a warmth in her chest. Not just sadness. Something else. Hope. As she left the office, the sun broke through the clouds. She pulled the charm bracelet from her purse and clasped it around her wrist. And for a brief, fleeting moment, she swore she could smell her mother's perfume in the breeze. However, it was a rainy Thursday morning in Patchogue, Long Island. The gray skies mirrored the mood in the home of Emily Rivera, a 34-year-old schoolteacher still reeling from the sudden loss of her younger brother, Danny. It had been 6 months since the accident, but Emily still woke every morning expecting a text from him, their daily ritual that had abruptly ended. One day, scrolling through her social media, Emily came across a video of Theresa Caputo, the Long Island medium. Skeptical yet strangely drawn in, Emily watched Theresa channel a message from someone's late grandmother with uncanny detail. By the end, Emily's skepticism had crumbled just enough to click on the book or reading link. To her astonishment, she got a slot, next Tuesday, in person. Theresa's office was warm and inviting, filled with soft lighting, plush chairs, and crystals that sparkled like tiny stars. A strong scent of lavender floated through the air, calming nerves that fluttered wildly in Emily's chest. "Emily Rivera?" A voice called from the doorway. Theresa Caputo stood there with her iconic platinum blonde hair, perfectly manicured nails, and that familiar no-nonsense New York energy. But what struck Emily most were her eyes. Piercing, kind, and knowing. They sat in a quiet room. No clocks. No distractions. You don't have to tell me anything, Theresa said with a wink. Let's see who comes through. Theresa closed her eyes and inhaled deeply. I keep hearing music, like rock music. Someone's playing air guitar. Does that mean anything to you? Emily's breath caught. That was Danny. He used to do that all the time in the car. He thought he was in a band. Theresa smiled gently. He's laughing right now, says you never appreciated his talent. Emily laughed through the tears. He was horrible. Theresa's voice softened. He wants you to know he didn't suffer. He keeps showing me the number 17. Does that connect? Emily gasped. That's the exit where the crash happened. Route 17. Theresa nodded. He says he's sorry, he didn't say goodbye. But he's with you, especially when you wear that old hoodie. Emily froze. She'd been wearing Danny's gray hoodie to sleep every night since his death, but she'd never told anyone. The reading lasted only 30 minutes, but Emily felt as if she'd spoken with Danny for hours. There were jokes, apologies, messages of hope, and above all, love. Love that didn't fade with time or death. It simply changed form. As the session ended, Theresa stood and smiled. Sometimes, spirit doesn't want closure. They want connection. Danny's not behind you. He's right beside you. Always. Emily left the office lighter, as if some invisible weight had been lifted from her chest. Outside, the rain had stopped, and the clouds were breaking. That night, Emily dreamt of Danny. Not a blurry, abstract dream, but vivid. He stood in front of her, laughing, just as she remembered. He handed her a guitar pick with the initials DR etched on it. The next morning, groggy and emotional, Emily went downstairs to make coffee. On the kitchen counter, something small and plastic caught her eye. A guitar pick. From Danny's old drawer. She hadn't seen it in years. The initials were there. DR. Her knees went weak, but her heart was strong. Weeks turned to months, and Emily felt Danny's presence in ways she never imagined. In songs on the radio, in flickering lights, in dreams that felt more like visits. She became a quiet believer, not in seances or crystal balls, but in love that survives death, in messages whispered between realms, and in mediums who bridge the silence with compassion. And every time she wore his hoodie, she whispered, "I love you," into the quiet night. Somewhere, beyond the veil, Danny whispered it back. Hello, lovely viewers. Welcome to my channel. I am Mina. Hope your day is so well. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe the channel.